One of the most difficult problems we have is inside your radiator, inside your cooling system. Okay, this is to keep the engine cool. And one of the real problems that occurs inside there is silicate dropout. Okay, but again, we have the problem of air bubbles inside the system, corrosion that takes place, and then air bubbles that are inside the system. The problem is even worse in diesel engines than it is in cars, in regular automotive engines. Okay, what happens is these air bubbles form inside the system, and then they act as an insulator on the water jacket. They stop the heat from being transferred from the coolant into the outside air. Okay, with a diesel engine, instead of having a complete cylinder head, you have just a little thin sleeve inside the system. This is to enable the high heat that is generated inside a diesel engine to be transferred quickly into the cooling system, and then transferred from there into the outside air. The big problem with diesels and with regular cars is as air bubbles form inside the system, it stops the heat from being transferred. Also, every time an air bubble pops, it removes a minuscule amount of metal, causing cavitation. In a diesel, if you don't put something in there, and even the manufacturers agree with this, you will eat through that piston sleeve. So what we're going to try and do is a little quick demonstration to show how we can affect the air bubbles inside your system. What I've done here is I took a little drop of water, put it in a test tube. I then added some soap. That's all, just one little drop of ordinary soap. These things are very useful. You can use them for that. When they're empty, you can use them for applicator bottles, for your Dabalube trays. So they're not money wasted. You can get about 3 of those for $1. So it's not going to cost you a great deal of money. But one drip of soap in here will produce air bubbles. If this was the air bubbles inside your system, it would be almost virtually impossible to get rid of it, especially when it's being agitated. What we're going to do is show you how the wetting agent that is in Universal Supercool works inside your system. These are different air bubbles from what we'll find in your system. So what I'm going to do is I've taken a concentrated wetting agent and I'm going to put this inside the cooling system. It just takes a couple of minutes to do it. We put it in, we mix it up a little bit, and then what happens is we start to rotate it. And gradually these air bubbles will start to disappear. Each time I do it, there's less and less air bubbles. There will be more and more water that forms inside the system. They gradually decrease down the test tube. You can see the water start to come back, the air bubbles are shrinking. And this just continues until gradually there will be nothing left except for water. You see how much better it is now? Once we get to a certain point, we'll have no air bubbles left at all. It will strictly be water. That's what a wetting agent does. Farmers use wetting agents on their fields to help the ground when it's a clay surface to absorb the water. It gets rid of the air. It breaks down the surface tension of an air bubble inside the system. As you can see, we're almost there. We have very little left inside this system now. There was some residue left on the test tube where it's a little dirty, but you can see how much better this fluid is becoming. Every time I shake it, there are less and less air bubbles inside the system. We'll be almost completely clear after this one. That is what happens inside your system when you use Supercool. What Supercool is doing, it is removing the bubbles that stop the heat from being transferred in your system. It is stopping the problem that this causes as far as cavitation goes, stopping the wear on your system by removing the air bubbles. Can you see that pretty clearly? There is virtually nothing left now. These few little air bubbles will dissipate and it will be just a clear liquid by the time we finish with it. And that's exactly how Supercool works in there. In addition to that, it will stop silicates from dropping out inside your system. It will stop that sand that drops out of your harder waters, which goes around and will actually sandblast the entire system of your car. That was what wears out the impellers on the pump. It wears out the radiator. It wears out the hoses from the inside. Hoses look new on the outside, but the inside is where all the wear takes place. That is caused by the silicates that are in that fluid. Okay, we stop that from happening. Universal Supercool is good with every coolant that is out there. I don't care if it's gold, pink, purple. I think Mercedes' color of the month is purple this month. This will work with absolutely any one of them, and it works beautifully. Just a quick little demo for you to show your customers, okay?